Hello, this is Merchant of Knowledge Africa. We are still on this book, My Watch, written by Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, the former president of Federal Republic of Nigeria. On this series of what Obasanjo said in his book, we'll be looking at Chapter 2, The Snippets. In this chapter, Obasanjo stated clearly that he is from Owu lineage, one of the clans or subgroups found amongst the Yoruba people. He went further to dive deeply into the origin of Yorubas, as told by Reverend Samuel Johnson, a Yoruba Anglican Christian priest who documented an interesting historical detail of the origins of Yoruba people. His account is reputed as the most authentic and authoritative record of the history of the Yorubas. That's the account of Samuel Johnson. According to Johnson's account, the Yoruba people migrated from Mecca in Saudi Arabia. The king of Mecca, Lamrudi, had a son called Oduduwa, who was not interested in Islam. He preferred idol worship, and under Oduduwa's auspices, the great mosque of the city became a center of idol worship. This was sacrilege to the Muslims in that city. Oduduwa went further to install a chief priest called Asara. Ironically, Asara's son, Brahma, preferred Islam. He exacted his revenge as a young man when he was asked to sell idols by his father. On a day when the king had ordered all young men to go hunting, Brahma entered the mosque that was turned into an idol worship center and used earth to destroy all the idols but spared one, the biggest. On return from the hunt, the king confronted Brahma on what has happened, and Brahma demanded that the idol be asked who desecrated the center. When they asked him on how they could ask a mute idol a question, he replied, "Why do you worship someone who cannot speak?" Brahma was immediately sentenced to death. The Muslims in the city saw his death sentence as a declaration of war on them. They attacked and killed the king and drove his son Oduduwa and other of his brothers out of Mecca. Oduduwa chose to travel west, and his brothers traveled east. There are other historical accounts and legends, but they all acknowledge that Oduduwa is the father of the Yoruba people. That's according to this book. The first son of Oduduwa is Okambi. Okambi had 7 children, with Olowu, the Lord of the Wu, as his first son. Obasanjo chronologically described the people of Owu of Abeokuta, his origin, and ended by saying that, in quote, "History is the memory store of an individual, a family, or indeed any human institution or organization. To lose or forget history is fairly synonymous with losing one's memory. If you lose your memory, you will not remember what you ate yesterday, let alone what you did in the far past." According to Obasanjo, forgetting history is a tragedy because we need a knowledge of history to guide the present and to prepare for the future. One's history is also part of what makes an individual, and it gives him some self-esteem and dignity. One should never be ashamed of one's history, even if it is not glamorous. The author went ahead to describe the origin of the Yoruba people, stating that they migrated from Mecca to Oduduwa to Okambi and to the present-day Yoruba people. And he also went ahead to explain why it is important to know history, why it is important to have a knowledge of history. So whether your history is ugly, whether your history is glamorous, it is important you have a knowledge of history. There has been a lot of quotable quotes, words of wisdom that has to do with knowing your roots and knowing your history. And that is a due diligence Obasanjo just did in this chapter. To will come your way again, try as much as you can to get a copy of this book. This is a compendium. Make sure you are reading, and bye for now.